Good evening, folks. Wemo here with Team NuCanoe. Wanted to talk a little bit about how I have my rod holders set up. A lot of people see me out on the water. They see quite a few rods back here, and they're thinking, this guy's just trying to store every single rod possible. Well, that might be the case to some extent, but for the most part, the way I have these set up back here is more about how I'm doing my fishing. These two rod holders are primarily used during the catch. These three are my active rods, and the rod holders back here, with the exception of what I have my 360 light on, are primarily my what I refer to as my inactive rods that I'm not immediately using. So starting with my active rods, I've got three Scotties set up here on the Freedom Track, and these are going to be starting in order. When I launch first thing in the morning, I'll have the first one that I'm planning on using, then the second, then the third. Now, it doesn't always go in that order, as everybody knows, depending on the conditions and the bite. I may end up switching lures on these three, or I may end up taking my active rod, making it inactive, and pulling another rod from this area and bringing it over and start throwing a new lure. Most of my rods back here that would be inactive would have the rod sleeves on, unless it's really windy, in which case I'll have no rod sleeves back here unless I'm dealing with trees or other hazards that these things might run into. All of my active rods will typically have the sleeves removed because I'm planning on throwing them, and they're usually going to be in a rotation in some cases if I'm in a search mode for the bite. When I hook up with a fish, depending on which side of the kayak I end up bringing that fish into, my rod is going to go into either this rod holder or this rod holder. When I'm pulling that fish up and putting it on the hog trough or getting the hook out of it, whatever my plans are with that fish, my rod's going to go on one side or the other. This gets it immediately out of my way. I can unhook the fish, do my thing with the fish on the hog trough, take pictures, throw the fish back, immediately grab my rod and rehook the bait, retie, whatever it is that I need to do. So these aren't for transporting my rods, they're for holding my working rod that has just caught a fish. There are other situations where I will put it typically in the left hand side, port side, if I need to grab the paddle and do some maneuvering, or I'm going to do a short paddle forward. I do have one more rod holder up towards the bow. I will turn the camera right now. Switching over to the hat cam real quick to show you the front rod holder by Yak Attack. This is where I mount my rod when I'm going to make a run somewhere. Sometimes I will go back and stick it right here, but what I've found is, kind of depends on what's going on around me, but if I have some obstructions, tree limbs, things of that nature that may be to my left or my right, I'll keep the rod away from this because it's going to be angled out and get hung in some of those tree limbs or anything else that may be docks, for example. So I'll put it up here in the front rod holder, and it'll be sticking straight out towards the bow of the kayak. Going back one more time with the rod holders that I have mounted out back here, I took the rod out, I took the net out. This is where I hold my net. It's a big old ram tube. It's got a slightly larger opening, so my net handle fits in there. But as you can see, NuCanoe is one of the most versatile, if not the most versatile platform out there when it comes to what you can do with it as it relates to the Freedom Track. And on top of that, the stability, the open deck. I'm a big guy. I'm 6 foot, almost 6'4", 300 and something pounds. We won't go there. This thing handles me all day long. I can stand in it if I want to stand in it. In fact, I've got the power pole tomorrow in case I want to get into some flipping. Lake I'm going to has a lot of reeds. Bass like to get in there later in the morning and throughout the day. But plenty of versatility. Thanks for listening. plan to do some more videos. This is actually my first one when it comes to rigging. It's hard to believe that I've had my NuCanoe almost a year next month, and this is the first time I've talked about my rigging in a video, but better late than never. Thanks for watching, guys. Talk to you next time. You gotta scare those cats off. Once I... This sucks. God, I'm suck at videos. Damn. Okay, that was the dry run.